The US government used a specialized form of remote viewing known as Controlled Remote Viewing, CRV. Lyn was brought into the unit in 1984 and remained there on special assignment for the rest of his military career. In December 1995, the CIA effectively declassified the government's connection to and use of CRV and the existence of the military unit. The public became aware of CRV, and PSI quickly took on the role of training CRV to the public, keeping research data on the trainer's CRVers and developing new civilian application for the technology. Lyn holds a BA in psychology, a BA in linguistics, and a MA in linguistic psychology, and became military linguist, specializing in German, Russian, Spanish, Japanese, and Mongolian. Lyn is an author of 2 books, The Seventh Sense, The Secrets of Remote Viewing as Told by a Psychic Spy from the US military, The Gravity Can Be Your Friend and Can Also Get You Killed, a novel about police training in space. For all other information and more details, please visit this homepage, www.crviewer.com. I'm glad to speak to you in my new podcast. Thank you very much for your presence, Lyn Buchanan.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me. This is an honor.
Today, I would like to speak about your controlled remote viewing postgraduate method called medical application, MedApps.
Oh, mm-hmm.
Can you please explain what CRV medical application is about?
Yes. CRV, Controlled Remote Viewing, gives you a way to collect intelligence or collect information about persons, places, things, events, and all that. Because it lets you collect intelligence or information about people as well, it also allows you, once you're trained, it also allows you to get into a person's subconscious mind and find out what's going on in their subconscious mind. Because of that, we found that while you can use CRV to observe someone's actions, you can get into their subconscious mind to observe why they're acting that way.
Mm-hmm.
And that, of course, led to, if someone is sick, find out why they're sick. Is it a physical ailment? Is it a mental, psychosomatic problem? Is it a religious somatic problem, where they are at conflict with themselves because their actions don't match their religious beliefs, which means they're not crazy. They're just at odds with their religion. Is it a problem that they have with their family, whatever it is, that's causing them to be sick? As a result, on a subconscious level, we can persuade them to work out that problem. When they work out that problem, they get better.
Yep. So it's like a 2 phases process. It's like to go with CRV to look at the problem. Why is the problem there? And then
That's right.
Do something to move something inside the subconscious of the target
That's
person.
Right. The first half of our course is diagnostics. Just like a doctor, you don't want to go in and treat the wrong problem. You don't treat according to symptoms, you treat according to cause. And the thing is that we tell everyone who comes to the medical applications course, you are not here to heal anyone. You are here to help everyone heal themselves. then there is a big difference. If you find somebody has a sickness and you heal them, they may need that sickness for some reason. So they're just going to get sick again.
There
And
is a
so
kind of correlation with the sickness.
that's right. Yeah. And so if you get into their subconscious mind, find out what's wrong and help them work out that problem, they will heal themselves. Not only will they heal themselves and the problem will go away, but in the process, they will learn how to heal themselves again.
Mm-hmm.
And so doing this, we tell our students, you are not there to heal anyone. You are there to help them learn how to heal themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the whole point of the medical applications course.
Yep. And why did you give this name medical application? Because it sounds like something medical, but I don't know if somebody understands it as that.
Yeah, mainly because it helps people with their problems, whether their problems, they may not have physical problems. They may have emotional problems. They may just be crazy and you can't help them.
Yep.
But many times people cause their own sickness. And so we called it medical, even though many times it's not because of a physical illness at all,
Mm-hmm. And how is it possible to learn this modality of the protocol? Is this open to everybody?
It's open to everyone, except we use controlled remote viewing to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is a special application of the controlled remote viewing process. So we have people learn controlled remote viewing, and then according to what they want to use it for, they may not want to work with sick people. They may want to help the police. They may want to learn the remote viewing just to get rich, help their own business, So we have all of these special applications training that we have after you learn the controlled remote viewing. And medical applications is just one of those. It's a very productive and very beneficial special application. But that's it. It's just another application of the controlled remote viewing.
Yep. And if a remote viewer uses this application, is he personally involving himself to do some kind of energy healing or something like that? I mean,
No.
is the work personal, or with the protocol it's used? This is a neutral way of work on somebody's subconscious.
It's fairly neutral. One of the things we want to do is protect the remote viewer. There are many times, excuse me, there's a thing called getting sucked in. You're sucked into the person. The problem is that when you access a person mentally, you look for the problem, but that problem with every person is always connected into their total paradigm.
Mm-hmm.
And so they may have some reason that's causing them to be sick, and you go working on that, not realizing that also is a part of their political beliefs, their religious beliefs, their family beliefs, their grudges that they've held all through their life, everything else. And if you allow yourself to meld with that person, you not only get that problem, but you are then influenced by everything. And and you may come out of a problem of a session where you have helped someone heal, but now then you're sick.
Yeah, but it could heal me too when I do this healing to somebody else. Maybe it affects
Yes,
me too,
yes,
positively.
on that thing, but you don't realize that you have picked up some of their
Yeah.
political beliefs and religious beliefs and all that. So a great part of the course is learning how to protect yourself from the person you're trying to help.
But how is it possible that something like that happens? Because if somebody works on a protocol with pen and paper, how is it possible that the viewer is picking up personality traits or I don't know, something
Oh,
else? How
very
does it?
simple. You find the problem and you agree that it's a problem. Well, you have just sympathized with that person. And in sympathizing with that person, you have let yourself meld just a little bit. If you don't then protect yourself, you can meld more and more and more and more. And it's very possible to come out of a healing session with you being sick.
Mm-hmm.
It's very possible.
Yep.
The mental access, we teach you how to converse with a person on a subconscious level without melding with them. So you have to protect yourself.
Yeah, but this dynamic is happening every day without knowing it, because if
Sure.
this is possible at this level in CRV, this is like 10 times powerful than normal. So
Not really. The controlled remote viewing is, in this case, just like having a conversation with a person.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're having it with their subconscious mind, not their conscious mind. But it's really no more powerful, no more different than just having a conversation with them, talking through their problems, uh, um, helping them resolve their problems. In fact, it should be called remote persuasion, not remote influencing.
Yep, I understand. And with this methodology, it's possible to access any target person we know. Well, what kind of part we access exactly? It's the subconscious, it's the mental state.
It is
What
the subconscious, yeah.
the subconscious?
Yes. Uh, Psychologists and psychiatrists realize that the subconscious actually rules the conscious mind. Most people don't realize that. The subconscious is what rules you. And so when you access a person with CRV for this purpose, you don't want to deal with their conscious mind at all. That's their logic, that's their belief system, that's their linguistics and everything else. And you want to deal with the subconscious mind, which is ultimately going to rule that person's actions, beliefs, happiness, and all of that. And so that's what you want to deal with. And in fact, even in the remote influencing, quote, influencing, if I try to tell someone, pick up your coffee cup and drink, not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. People keep thinking, oh, I can make people do things. No, you can't. That's, sometimes it happens by coincidence, but you don't. But if you get into their subconscious mind and think and get them thinking, I'm thirsty, their subconscious mind will make them pick up their coffee and drink.
Yep.
you know. And so this is really remote persuasion rather than remote influencing, and it's absolutely not remote control. You don't control the person.
There is a lot of people speaking about influencing and control, and there is a need of showing power on others and something like that. I don't.
No, you want to empower that other person to be in power of themselves.
Mhm.
You don't want to take over,
Yeah.
One time an interviewer said, if you could do this, you could rule the world. And I said, what would I want with the world? Have you seen it lately? I don't want it.
It would be different.
Oh, well,
A
yeah.
different world. What was your first use of medical application? How did you learn that methodology? I can't see how this. You developed a system that makes it possible to speak to a subconscious. Why and how can happen something like that?
When you study the Ingo Swann controlled remote viewing, Ingo Swann is the man who developed controlled remote viewing, which is totally different from remote viewing that you hear about on the internet. Yep. It's a totally different thing. When you study the methodology itself in what's called stage 4, there is a column of information that gives you access to a target person's subconscious mind. And in the military, excuse me, in the military, we were never allowed to do active mental work. We were there to collect information only. And influencing, we could have gone to jail for that. That was absolutely forbidden. But it was there, and I wanted to learn how to do it. And so without actually doing it, I started studying and all that. And I would practice what I learned on my dog and myself, and to see what worked and what didn't, and developed it. And then one day I was at work and I got a phone call that my father had been in Iraq and was not expected to live and was in a coma. And please come home. So on the flight home, I decided that I would see if I could access him in that coma.
Yep.
And see what was going on. And I found him confused, very aware, but confused and just totally scared, afraid, everything else. And so I started helping him calm down. Let's take care of the situation and all that. And on the flight home, I had asked him certain questions and all that. Well, I had asked him a question right before the plane landed, and I had to stop working and get off the plane and go to the hospital. When I got to the hospital room, he came out of his coma, looked at me, and physically answered the question. And all of a sudden, I realized this works. This really works. And since then, there have been several times when we've been called to help somebody come out of a coma or help them, in their coma. And it works. And so it not only works if they're in a coma, but, most of us walk around half asleep all the time anyway. And so when a person is awake and all that, you can still access their subconscious mind and help them with problems that they have. And so we have learned to do that. Now,
Yep.
we have also learned that if you can help people, you can hurt people. We have also learned that there is a real collective consciousness of which you're a part. If you hurt people, you hurt yourself.
Yeah, makes sense.
If you help people, you help yourself. And so we teach the medical applications with a strong, strong teaching. You have learned how to affect a person at their subconscious level. Do not do it to harm them. If you do, you're harming yourself at your own subconscious level, and it's not good. Help them, and you will help yourself.
Yep, this makes sense.
Yeah.
What are the best results you achieved with medical application? What would do you have some special cases?
Probably the special cases are helping people in comas. Also, helping people to help themselves heal. Many times we've had things where an athlete will sustain an injury and they go into, rehabilitation. They can't practice their skill, their sport, and all that, and so they give up. And we have learned to help them not give up, to spur them on and toward healing. That also works with soldiers who have come home damaged. Their legs are missing. The PTSD, shell shock, and we've been able to help them that way too. There was one very special case where a woman had been in a wheelchair for 6 years because she had been in a car wreck and her spinal column was damaged. And with about 300 sessions that we did, it was persuasion, okay? We managed to get her to heal that problem in her spinal column, physically heal it. And about 6 months after we started working on this, we got a call, and it was the woman's sister, and the woman's sister said she moved her legs today. About 3 months later, the sister called again and said she stood up out of her wheelchair today, and of course her muscles are atrophied, but she stood up, and I said, fantastic. That lets us know that what we're doing is working. And she said, well, my sister is extremely religious. If she knew that psychics were doing this for her, she would sit down in her wheelchair and never get up again rather than go to hell. And I said, then don't tell her. She said, well, don't you want credit? I said, no, I want feedback. Exactly, I want to know if what I'm doing is working. That's all I want. And
I think it's quite difficult to have a feedback about these changes, because if the other person isn't conscious about what changes, then you don't receive a feedback.
Well, yeah, and
if the changes are not so big as the one you told us.
Well, usually when it's something like that, it's not the person who has asked you. It's a relative or something, and so we do get feedback. Usually a person who has a problem like that will not ask for your help. They say, they have a problem themselves, and they say, somebody is hurting me, would you cause them to stop?
Yep.
And if we tell them, no, you're hurting yourself, they never speak to us again. So, because they don't want to face the fact that they're hurting themselves.
So this is this two-way communication with the target person, and it's during the courses, MEDAP courses, the viewer learns how to deal with the communication and how
Right.
to protect his self.
That's right.
But
yeah.
is the two-way communication happening every time as we are unaware of this happening? I mean, now our subconscious is communicating somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Generally in the beginning, when you access the person at the subconscious level, they start unloading all of their problems on you. And that's where the two-way communication happens mostly. And that's where you have to protect yourself.
Mhm.
Now, as you proceed and they get to where they're realizing at the subconscious level, hey, I can do something about this.
Yep.
Then they stop dumping all their problems on you and they start handling the problems themselves. And from that point on, you're just there as a coach, as somebody to give, good going and all that.
There are no boundaries of distance in time and space, like CRV. It's the same protocol, the same rules.
That's right. Now, space. Time, however, we have found that you can influence the past, but you cannot change it.
Mm-hmm.
And you had asked in one of your questions, can you also do this for the dead? You can
Yep.
access the spirit of a dead person, yes, but you're not going to heal them.
Mm-hmm.
If they died of a heart attack, you're not going to bring them back to life. However, if their soul, their spirit is still having problems, you can help them work their way through it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You'd also ask about communicating with someone not yet born in the womb.
Exactly. Yep.
And yeah, it's possible. Feedback in that case is you're probably not going to get it. I mean, the kid's not inside there going,
Hello.
Knock twice for no, once for yes.
I don't know if the mother likes it.
Yeah.
In terms of experience of feelings accessing somebody, what is your most special time ever on accessing somebody's subconscious?
Actually, it's a very long process. We tell you that yes, you can help people heal, but here's where I prefer the term remote persuasion. Let's say you go to a neighbor and they have a problem and you give them some advice and they take it and things get better, but then they go back into their old way of doing things and things get worse again. You have to go back and not nag. You can't, just keep fussing at them. You have to help. And with the remote medical applications, like I say, this one woman who was in a wheelchair, we did over 300 sessions over 6 months of time. And finally, she started healing herself. And then after she moved her legs, I think we did another 200 sessions before she stood up. At that point, when she stood up, we backed off and didn't help. I heard about a year later that she was walking. But from that point on, we didn't do anything.
Yep. And this feedback gives you a sense of feeling that that is the best that you can have by doing a work like this. Is there
Well,
like a loop going back on the work you did?
yeah, it of course helps your feelings that you've done something good. Basically, what we do is from the very start, when Ingo Swann created this, it was a scientific process. We keep data. We keep tons and tons of data. And so when we do the remote medical applications, we keep data on everything we do.
Mm-hmm.
What works for one person may not work for another person. And so we keep data. And when we get feedback, we learn for each person what has worked, what has not. And as we get feedback and learn what does work, we focus on that.
Yep.
If we get feedback that something does not work, we dump it. Don't do it again. You know? And that feedback is not just for personal pride or anything like that. The feedback is for it's a tool that actually helps us do better work.
Mm-hmm. According to your personal experience, how is the ability to interact at a distance with a person's subconscious seen by the general public?
As magic or as of the devil, and you're going to hell for doing that, you know. The fact is, it's a natural human ability. It's one that you're taught never to use from the time you're a small child.
Yep.
And it's just another natural human ability. But as it's seen by the public, everybody has their own superstition, their own belief system, their own paradigm. And when people find out that we can do this, now this has happened many, many times since they declassified the project that we did in the military. I don't know how many thousands of people have come to me saying, I'm going to come kill you because you're ruining my mind. You're attacking me mentally. And, you know, I don't even know who these people are. You know, and if I did know who they were, I'm not going to waste my life on them, you know. But people get afraid of it.
Yeah.
And
They are afraid of the private life.
Oh yeah.
Or losing the privacy. I don't know.
That's right. Yeah. And many people have problems and they want to blame it on somebody else.
Mm.
They find out that, you know, we did this in the military and all of a sudden I'm the bad guy.
How many people are aware of the potential of this protocol, CRV medical application?
Many now, thousands now, they're aware of it. In controlled remote viewing, we have the tools, we have the data, we have the methodology that has proven to work, and we have the feedback, everything else. Now, if you go out on the internet and you find somebody who is in healing and medical applications, I have seen people on the internet calling themselves remote viewers, not controlled remote viewers, but remote viewers who have actually said, I will heal you, and I will do it by forming a pyramid over my head and turning to the right 3 times in the moonlight when it's a full moon, and you will be healed. pay me $50, you know.
Hopefully it
And
works.
no, it doesn't work. It doesn't work at all. And there are many people out there who call themselves remote viewers, who have never had any training, who are just making things up, and who are taking advantage of the public. It's very sad. Very sad.
But how many students did you have? Do you know that know this protocol? Are
You
there
know this
hundreds?
protocol?
Or yeah, no idea. It's possible that somebody access you with this protocol. How do you protect yourself from this?
The controlled remote viewing that Angus Wong created is a large part protection. Basically, if you wanted to throw it all and give one general rule, you observe the person. You never mentally connect to them, ever. That's just dangerous territory to you if you do that. You observe them, and as your next door neighbor or something like that, you converse with them, but you do not get into their mind. You know, most people have problems with their own mind. You don't need to take on somebody else's problems too.
Yeah.
You know.
But is there something that somebody can do to protect himself from this action of being accessed?
From being accessed?
Yeah.
If you're talking about being accessed by a psychic or by a remote viewer, it's pretty easy. One of the things about the controlled remote viewing that Ingo Swann made, there is actually no protection from it. This is why I'm very careful. I mean, I have had hundreds of people who want to take controlled remote viewing and the medical applications so they can heal people.
Yep.
I turn them away. No, not going to happen. If I get even the slightest vibe that I can't trust them, then absolutely not. This is why in the 30 years now that I've been teaching this in the public, I have 20 students who have been through the medical app course.
Oh, wow.
I am very careful about this. I do not want any of my work to be used to hurt people.
Yep.
I refuse. I've had many people offer me a lot of money for it. You know, let me come take the course. No, absolutely not. No.
There are ethical issues, so to say.
The ethical issues are tremendously important. Tremendously important. And most people who want to influence someone else want to control them. And that's just wrong. You know?
I think that if somebody tries to access me, so to say, I can track him.
Yeah.
I can track him. I go back to him. So,
like I say, with psychics or with the general remote viewer that you're going to find on the internet, that's absolutely true, and it's easy. With the protocols of controlled remote viewing that Ingus One created, excuse me, you can't. One of the reasons that it was so favored by the military, animals are very sensitive to psychic things. And let's say you have a secure facility in some other country, and you have a guard walking around at night protecting the place, and they have a guard dog with them. And all of a sudden, the guard dog goes perk, they report that. And let's say there's some special project, highly classified project that is going on in that facility. That gets reported, and people take this seriously. And so they abandon plan A and they go to plan B.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, the information you collected is no longer good. Well, with controlled remote viewing, you can't get caught.
Mm-hmm.
And that dog never alerts. And the information you get stays good because they never go to plan B.
Yeah. It's
And
like
so,
working detached from the informations.
That's right. In all cases in controlled remote viewing, you observe, you do not take part in the target, you do not take part in the person, you do not take part in the activity or anything. You observe and report. It's like your job. You ask questions, you report the answers.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yep, very easy. What is not possible to do to another being remotely?
I would like to say you cannot cause them to hurt themselves. You actually can. The remote control of a person. So they're driving along and you want them to die, so you make them go into the oncoming traffic or go over the edge of a bridge. You can't do that. Okay. Their own self-preservation will kick in.
Yep.
But getting information, changing the past, okay, things like this, logically, and in the medical apps.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if a person is sick, you can help them heal themselves. They've lost a leg, you're not going to get that leg to grow back.
Yeah, makes sense.
The leg is gone,
Yeah.
But you can help them give the courage and the energy to go through the, thing of getting a prosthetic leg.
The healing.
And
healing process.
Yeah,
yep.
That's right. Yeah.
Is a change of personality or state possible? State
Yes.
of consciousness.
Yes.
In the viewer and the target person too. Both.
Right. Yeah. And you may want it in the target person. You probably don't want it in the viewer.
Yeah.
You want to protect the viewer. Yeah.
Yeah, but as a viewer, you can have a target, so to say, a state of consciousness, and then feel it. You can feel the state of consciousness.
You can feel it, but when you do, that's one of those signals that you're now identifying with the person rather than observing them. And so we have a way that once you feel it, you can get rid of that feeling in yourself while acknowledging that that feeling is in them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so at all times in controlled remote viewing, we teach you how to protect yourself from the target.
Yeah. This is called detoxing.
Detoxing, yeah. Mm-hmm.
How does it work? Do you work on the protocol?
It works very well.
Yeah.
No, it works by, it's called unzipping, okay?
Mm-hmm.
You go through what you've done so far, the last thing you did, and you have that feeling. then you sit there and you rationalize with yourself. Is that their feeling or mine? Well, it's both. Why do they feel that way? Because they're sick. Why do I feel that way? Because I'm feeling their feeling. And then you have separated just that tiny bit. Then you go back to the thing you did before. And you may have a 1 hour session and you find that you've gotten, quote, sucked into that person. It may take you 3 hours of work then to unzip yourself slowly and slowly to where you separate yourself from their feelings, their emotions, their everything. So you detoxify yourself.
How would you describe your essence? Would it be a concept of an immaterial part of you? Is this the subconscious, or is there something else? What are we made of? How do you experience that? Is this do you have is the subconscious for you? Is this your essence?
I think it's the part of me that controls most of my inner stuff and all that. One of the things you learn in learning controlled remote viewing is that you know how the mental health field says you have the conscious and the unconscious? Listen, that part of you is never unconscious. They can say the unconscious as a noun, but as an adjective, it's very conscious all the time. And in fact, the mental health people say you have micro personalities. Okay. What we do as an analogy, you know, story to help people access their subconsciousness is we liken it to an office building. And your conscious mind is up on the top floor. He's the boss. He makes all the decisions, but he never really knows what's going on in the company. Okay. And so down below, you have that part of you which deals with finance, that part of you which deals with your health, that part of you which deals with what you like for hobbies and recreation, that part of you which protects yourself, your building guards and all that, and that part of you which is the receptionist who decides who gets into the building and who doesn't. Okay. And so we teach you in this analogy how to deal with each different department and each different person within your own building. And as you go from not knowing what's going on up on the top floor to getting down in and starting dealing with your own internal employees, listen, your personality is going to change. Your subconscious mind is going to become a friend and a helper to you. And it's going to change your life. The people who learn controlled remote viewing, we tell them when they practice, we tell them, okay, here's a practice target. You have no idea what the target is, you describe it. But what you have to realize is, I already know what the target is, so you're not going to tell me anything I don't already know. You're not here to learn about the target. You're here to learn about yourself and how to do it and what's going on in your own subconscious mind. That's what you're here to learn. And once a person learns that, then with safety, we can take them out and give them real targets, police targets, business targets, and all that. But they have to build that firm foundation first.
This sounds very structured and logical.
It is.
and the way you go through the phases in the protocol, the steps, and the tools and the medical application. It's really about logic and structure. It's not something that is strange or you have to do something.
Yeah. Many times what goes on in your mind doesn't match your logic.
Yep.
It's totally opposite to your logic.
I can confirm.
So it's not about, it's not about your logic. It's about keeping track, documenting what you do, and finding out what works.
Mm-hmm.
If it works, keep it. If it doesn't work, it may be the most logical thing in the world, but it doesn't work, get rid of it.
Yep. One of the tools you use is the Mongolian writing. How did this came to life? For what do you use it?
There's a little story about that. There is a thing in controlled remote viewing called Ideograms. And one of the basic features of controlled remote viewing is that your conscious mind and your subconscious mind never really talk directly to each other, but each of them talks to the body. And when you start a session, you have gone through this training. You know how martial artists go wax on, wipe off, and they do that 10,000 times. And then one day somebody makes a roundhouse swing at them and their hand automatically goes up like that. The ideograms, we practice those. And then we get the body working as an interpreter between the conscious and subconscious minds. So then I've gone off on a tangent. What was your question again? Sorry
about the Mongolian writing.
Oh, the Mongolian writing.
How did this came to life?
Yeah. So one day I was developing a method whereby you can use the ideogram in the medical apps to get a conversation going between your subconscious, your conscious, your body, your subconscious, their subconscious. Then they can do something in their subconscious mind that comes back to you, back to your body, and into an ideogram, which tells you something about the target. And I was doing these ideograms. Well, at that time, we had a director who was one of these micromanagers. If he didn't tell you to do something, you better not do it. He control everything you do all through the entire 8 hours of the day. And so here I was practicing these ideograms. And all of a sudden, he was looking over my shoulder. What are you doing? And he knew that as a linguist, I had to keep up my linguistic practice for the military. So I lied. I said, "Oh, I'm practicing my Mongolian." And he said, "All right, continue on. I'll find you a job to do, you know." And he had me continue on. And so from that time on, as I was developing these ideograms, I called it, "Oh, I'm practicing my Mongolian writing." And so that's how that term came about, because we had a director who was just,
what is the difference between remote influencing and remote control?
Remote control is something I will never teach to anyone, period. It's, for me, one of the most distasteful things you could ever do. It's disgusting. It's where you take over a person's mind and make them do what you want. They have zero freedom. And I find that morally, ethically, I find that in every way totally disgusting. So influencing is where you go to a person and you try to persuade them to help themselves. You can persuade them to do what you want them to do, but you have to persuade them. And if it's wrong, they're probably not going to do it.
Yep. It's a difference in the quality of the use of this kind of protocol.
It's different. No, it's
different completely something else.
It's a completely different methodology. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So remote viewing is intended for every type of psychic activity. I named it everybody uses.
Yeah, generally psychic activity and the remote viewing that you hear about on the internet is totally uncontrolled, and it's just put the envelope to your forehead and see what comes to mind or something like that, and or just let it happen. In controlled remote viewing, it's called controlled remote viewing, not because the viewer is controlled. It's called controlled remote viewing because you give the viewer tools and methodologies to control the remote viewing itself.
Mm-hmm.
So a psychic or a quote remote viewer will see what comes to mind.
Yep.
Okay. In Ingo Swann's controlled remote viewing, you start out by saying, what are the main aspects of the site? Well, there's something man-made and there's an activity. Then you go into what's called stage 2, and you say, okay, now I'm only going to view the man-made. That's it. You have control. So you view the man-made. You find out, okay, it's mechanical and it makes a sound. So you say, okay, now I'm going to view the sound. Is the sound continuous? Is it high-pitched? Is it low-pitched? And by the time you get through controlling your own session, you have details, sometimes to the point where somebody can lay out the plans on a board and make a circuit board from your plans. One time, one of our viewers, we were in an old building, and the building was pre-World War II and all that. And one of the doors at the end of the building was locked. There was no key. It had been painted over so many times it was sealed shut. And it was a very hot day. We needed some air in the building. We didn't have any air conditioning. And so one of the viewers said, okay, I'm going to remote view the key that we need. He went over to the other building, remote viewed the key, drew it, went to a key maker, had the key made from that drawing, came back, unlocked the door, and we opened it.
This was a great feedback.
Yeah, that's great feedback. And you know, it's an amazing. I'm not surprised very often by anything a controlled remote viewer can do, but I will never quit being amazed by it. If I ever quit being amazed by it, it's because I just died.
So it is right to describe medical application not as remote influence, but as controlled remote persuasion. Is that right?
I prefer that.
This is clear.
I prefer that. Right. You do not heal a person.
Yep.
You teach them how, you persuade them to heal themselves. Yeah.
There is still a kind of detachment, so to say.
You always keep that detachment. Plus, once you have taught them to heal themselves, you don't have to go back and do it anymore. You know, and they will, once you teach them to heal themselves in one way, they will automatically take that and heal their other problems as well.
What can a seer viewer introduce in the methodology protocol as a tool?
For the
Is there a strict way to do this, or
the
viewer can change things because he like that, like this?
One of the things we found is that not everything works for a viewer. Every viewer has their own things that work best for them. And then within that, not everything they do is going to work on a patient, on a target person. And so, it's called controlled remote viewing because you have control over your remote viewing. But it has to be so flexible that the person doing the remote viewing or the medical application has to then, we say you have to be creative and you have to be flexible in your creativity. Because no matter how creative you get, if they don't respond to it, you have to be flexible and get creative in something else. So there is no definite do this and this will happen. It's not that way. It's not controlling the viewer. It's giving the viewer all these different massive sets of tools so that they can control their viewing.
In your book, The Seventh Sense, on the first page, Know Your Enemy, you tell us you accessed Saddam Hussein on daily basis. Can you tell us more about that?
Because I was good at accessing people mentally, that was one of my fortes. I was given the job quite often of accessing Saddam Hussein to get his plans and intentions for the next day and reporting that to the government and all that. And one of the things I found out was that in Saddam Hussein's mind, he was not a bad person. He was doing God's will as he thought God's will was. He was convinced that God wanted him to rule the world, and that if he ruled the world, then everyone would be Muslim. Anyone who wasn't Muslim, kill them and get rid of them because they're not, God's people anyway. And that if he ruled the world, God would be happy. And so Saddam Hussein was not a mean person. He wasn't a bad person in his own mind. He was crazy. He was just crazy. And I never could understand why the people followed him, because he was crazy.
What are the tricks to access a target person daily? Do you become like friends, or because I think you don't have to do the same every day? You can access easily. You more work on a person.
As you learn what works on that person, and you go back and do that every day, it becomes easier and easier. I would never become a friend with Saddam Hussein. No, no. And no, I went every day as an observer. But if a person is crazy, you stay out of their mind. You don't go there. It's
dangerous.
That's dangerous. You stay out of that place. Yeah.
And Mikhail Gorbachev and perestroika on the Reagan times. Is there something moved by CRV med-apps in those years? Can you tell something more about that?
Not that I know of med apps. Now, I was asked by a covert unit within the government. It wasn't tasked. I was asked to see if I could affect Gorbachev and his actions. And the way they wanted me to affect him, I could not morally or ethically agree with it. And so I said no.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought, I wonder if I could convince him to end communism. And so I started working on it. I did not know that at the time he had been planning for years to end communism. He was against communism from the very start. That was his plan. And so I started working to see if I could get him to convince him to end communism. He was already convinced.
Yeah.
That didn't, but the words and phrases that I used in my sessions, when he gave his speech that ended communism, every one of the words and phrases I had used was in that speech. And so I did not convince him to end communism. I didn't cause the end of communism or anything like that. People claim I did. I didn't. But maybe I helped him develop his speech to the government.
Sounds good.
And so, but he may have used those phrases anyway because they were good phrases. So
yeah, of course.
So
who knows?
So it's possible feedback. Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
In the book 7 Cents, you wrote an open letter to Muhammar Geddhafi. Yes. Did you access him on a regular basis too?
Yeah, I did. I'll be honest about it. Yeah, I did. Many times. And here was another person who was not mentally stable. And so I tried persuading and observing. I didn't get into, but what I said in the book was, that it was reported that his daughter was killed in that attack on his home. Before, I guess about 2 weeks before that attack, they came to me one day and they said, "We have a target for you." And of course, didn't tell me what it was. And we want you to describe a location at a specific time. And I described it. I found a white couch with a big house beam coming down, crashing in. There was destruction everywhere and all that. And that's what it turned out. After the raid, the newspaper had a picture of his living room. There was the white couch with the beam coming down and all that. And I had accurately described it. And I don't know whether it's true or not, but my director said that if I had described the living room being not destroyed, they would have called off the raid knowing that it would not be successful. But since I described that, they said the raid would be successful, so they bombed the house. And I've heard conflicting stories that maybe the daughter wasn't killed, but maybe the daughter was killed. I don't know. But in the book, there in that last chapter, I wrote that I do not agree with whatever general said bomb a civilian home, because his family were civilians, but that that I thought he was a most despicable person for the things he was doing, supporting terrorism and all that. And I thought that he should die and go to hell. But I'm sorry about your daughter.
Yep, I can understand this. Yeah.
Yeah, and I heard later, he had been wanting. He had gone to the UN to sue the United States for bombing his home, which was not a military establishment. And I heard later that he had read that book. He went to the United Nations and called off the suit to try to sue the U.S. government.
Mm.
So I don't know if my apology had any difference in the book or not. I don't know.
Yep.
But I was serious. I think he's a despicable person, crazy. But if I had anything to do with the death of the daughter, I didn't know it. But I apologized.
Yeah, of course. And did you ever experience some physical changes by doing, by target persons, mental or?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I learned the hard way.
This is possible.
Oh yeah, when I was first learning controlled remote viewing, I had not adequately learned to protect myself, and oh yeah, I was having problems. You get sucked into another person, you can suffer, but also your change in your activities and your feelings will affect your family, everybody around you. You have got to protect yourself. And because of the needs, the military needs, I was being used as a viewer before I had completely learned to protect myself. And oh yeah, it can be bad. Yeah.
Yep. And is this story about the change of color of the eyes real?
Evidently, I didn't know it. That's what the woman told me. She looked across the table at me and
she freaked
all
out.
of a sudden she freaked out and ran out of the room. And I found out later, I said, "What scared you?" She said, "Your eyes changed color."
Oh,
and
my
I had
God.
blue eyes. She said they turned brown. And so that's what she told me. It could have been the lighting in the room.
Who knows?
I don't know. But that's what she told me.
Yeah.
But I do know that you can have physical changes in response to what you see. I was accessing a person one time, real time, and that person had an accident and broke their rib, and I came out of that session with a broken rib.
No.
Now, superstition-wise, I can say that tie broke my rib. Scientifically, I would have to say that when I experienced them breaking a rib, I tensed up so hard that I broke my own rib. And whatever the real cause was, I don't know. All I know was it hurt. It hurt for a long time.
And this was real.
Yeah.
It's not a joke. It's not.
No,
it's not a toy.
Rib, yeah.
This system.
No, controlled remote viewing is not a toy. It's not a parlor game. It's not something you do just to feel psychic. And in fact, when you do the controlled remote viewing, you often don't feel like you've done anything psychic at all. I mean, it is so scientifically based, martial arts based, that most of the time you don't feel like you're doing anything psychic. We had a congressman come in one time to watch a session, We only got funded for 1 year at a time for 25 years. And he came in to see if he wanted to vote to fund our unit for the following year. So he brought a thing that an aide had put into a sealed envelope, and he brought it in his briefcase so that he didn't know what it was. We couldn't bleed him for information. And he said, I want your viewers to tell me what's sealed in that envelope. And so he went over and watched us do a session. He came back over to our director and he said, I was thinking I was going to see something psychic, and I am totally not impressed. I saw two guys sitting at a table, just joking around, and every now and then one of them would write something down. And our director said that it was one of the gutsiest things he ever did. He said, here's what they wrote down. Take the thing out of the envelope and see if it matches. And the senator took the thing out of the envelope. He read our description here and looked at the picture here, and he kept going, damn. And we got funded for another year.
It works.
It works, yeah. But you watch a controlled remote viewing session, it's not like you're watching a psychic. It's totally different. It's a totally different process. Yeah.
But a psychic can become seer viewer.
If you have that natural ability developed within you already, you can become an excellent controlled remote viewer. Many times you have to give up old habits. And, but, listen, if you have developed that natural ability, you can be a great controlled remote viewer.
And a normal person can become a psychic through seer viewer.
You can get in touch with your psychic. So controlled remote viewing does not make you psychic.
Mm-hmm.
You already are psychic.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody is. It just helps you bring out that ability, helps you deal with it in a way that doesn't conflict with your religion or your personal beliefs or anything else, because it's just a very do this and see if it works. You know?
Exactly. Well, Lyn, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me. Yeah. I hope this helped. I hope this explains some things.
Yeah.
The caution I always give is, if you're interested in remote viewing, before you put out any money, make sure that what you're getting is controlled remote viewing and not just something that somebody created at home that sounds good, so they're going to charge you for learning it.
And all information are to find on your website?
On my website, there are several other websites now that deal with controlled remote viewing. Go to those. I'm not the only teacher now. You know, I was a teacher for the unit. Now we have other teachers. We have one in Ireland. We have one in Italy. We have students in Germany who are controlled remote viewers. They're not teaching, but it's getting out to the public now that it's been declassified.
Great. Thank you, Lyn.
Thank you. Good talking to you. Nice
Bye.
meeting you. Bye-bye.